Okay. Hello, Given. We're so glad to be with you here today. My name is Abby Sharbach, and I'm the Mentor and Training Coordinator for the Given Institute. And I am so honored to be here with Jessica Palo, who is a 2019 Given Mentor, as well as a 2020 Discover the Gift Mentor. And she also blesses us with her wisdom and her insight as she serves us on the Mentor Advisory Committee. So we are just so grateful for her time and her talents. And we're so grateful to Sister Mary Elizabeth for introducing Jessica to our work and introducing us to Jessica. So I am just so glad, Jessica, that you're here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abby. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, so let's just kick this off by talking a little bit about your experience coming to the 2019 forum, and then we'll go from there into some of the work that you do on the daily.
Sure. Yeah, so it's interesting. When I came to the forum, I really was entering into the forum as a mentor, right? So that was really the invitation I received was to attend this forum as the mentor. And I got a sense on the journey to the forum that there would be something in this forum as well for me. And I don't know why it did not hit me until the journey there, but there was a very distinct moment, actually, I remember on the train realizing, wow, like this is also going to be a moment for myself as well. And I had just prepared so much to be a mentor in that forum. And it was just a moment where I really realized like this is going to also be a gift for myself, and it was. And I think from the very beginning, just the intention that Given gives to everything that they do, but just from the warm welcome when you walk into the moment when the forum started, it was just such a gift and such a blessing to be there. I think for me, what really stood out at the forum was the power of women's voices, the power of women's stories, the gift of sitting in the presence of young women, of women who are just on the beginning of this, of this journey of their careers and their vocations, and also sitting in the presence of women who have been serving in the gifts of their vocation and their ministries and whatever it is that they've been called to do. And what I really, really appreciated about the forum was it wasn't just one story. It wasn't just one narrative of what being a woman looks like. It was many narratives. It was many stories. And I really thought that that was a very powerful space and a very powerful way to inspire young women, and to me that was something that I said I have to get behind this. Like I really want to be behind this, because very often we see one voice or one narrative or one way, and just the ability to see many, and for these young women to be able to connect differently to each story, because that's what I found myself connecting differently to each woman that presented, and was inspired differently by each woman and woman that presented. And it gave me hope and gave me this space of creativity inside of myself to say, I don't need to fit a box. I can really be who I was created to be. And that to me is what the Given Forum was all about. And that is for me what serving as a mentor and continuing to serve, in a way that supports this in any way I can, was really the fire behind that for me.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. We were just talking about that this morning with a prospective mentor, that the beauty of all of these different stories and how we're so intentional about making sure that all of our mentors have different stories and all of our speakers and panelists have different stories, because we want to make sure that all women know that there is a place for them at the table.
Mhm. Mhm.
you know
Amen.
yeah, and that it is true that God is glorified in this the beauty of how different we all are. And
Mhm.
yet there are these common threads that we can hold on together with in our faith, or that kind of knit us together, I guess, is the way
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
extend that metaphor. But these common threads in our lives that give us that community and that fellowship, and also I think through Christ, the ability to really appreciate each other instead of being
Mhm,
competitive with each other,
mhm. Right,
that ability to just have joy in the
right.
gifts of another. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know why, but the imagery of a painting is coming to me as you're speaking. It's that like, we're all different colors, like we're all different forms of expression. We're all different ways of expressing, how we were created as a female. So to be able to see that painting, if you will, like in front of you, not only amongst the women that were attending, but the women that were speaking and serving throughout the forum, I think to me was really what the gift of that whole space was. And then also I think the next piece to that would be the community, is that um, you were bringing together community and connection, and that ultimately offers support and encouragement to be able to, sometimes when we feel maybe like we have to fit a box or we have to fit a story, to know that there are other women out there that are you know celebrating their own diversity, whatever that may be. And I just really appreciated that.
Yeah, and if you think about too how much more a painting impacts you in real life.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
you can see a print of a painting in a book, but if you go to the
Hmm.
museum and see it in real life and
And
you kind of sit back and you can kind of take it all in, um, I think that is something that the forum offers is that you can,
absolutely.
you see this painting in real life, you know,
Right,
and
right.
that's a beautiful part of coming together like that in the forum.
Yeah.
And also, I think another good thing that you point out with with that picture is that if we are part of this painting and we just focus on the little part that we are in,
Mm,
without seeing the entire composition, there can be all sorts of ways in which our vision is stunted and um, or even our understanding of this world that we're functioning in is stunted. Or limited, I guess, and
mhm.
so that's another benefit of kind of seeing the entire painting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very much so, and I'll talk a little bit about this in a moment, but my work is in athletics. I'm a former athlete myself, and it very much also lends to that imagery of sport and the imagery of team and the imagery that you're bringing your own individual skills, which you were given. They are God given, and then also there's this aspect also that you are working and building on. You have to participate. It's that co-authorship, right? There's this like participation that is required of you, and you're bringing your own individual gifts. You're working on those gifts and those skills, and then you're contributing ultimately to this team. And that ultimately is what the forum is as well. It's that we're all bringing our individual selves. We have workshops and speakers that are building these skills for us as well, helping us, give us tools for those skills to be developed. And then the ultimate gift is like all of us using them together. And that's where the beauty comes in of the painting, or the play that just happened and we scored, as for basketball terminology, whatever it may be. It's like we won. It's the honoring of all of the individual pieces to that, the end goal.
Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. So tell us a little bit about this work. How have you brought athletics, your
Yeah.
experience in athletics as a younger person into your life's work?
Yeah, so athletics for me has been an incredible narrative of life, right? And I just actually had a conversation today with a former student athlete, who we were speaking about this, about like how sport really does give us the imagery for like life and the lessons that can be connected to life. And I very much would say that that is a part of my everyday living, and also my leadership in general. It's very much about, starting with self, starting with, okay, what am I bringing? What are my gifts? What are areas that I feel like I can work on, that human part of me that needs to be worked on, and working on those gifts and those skills, but also working on areas that I feel like I can be stronger in, that I have the ability to be stronger in. And then ultimately looking for a space to contribute those gifts to, and looking for a space to be able to enhance or to grow or to be a part of. And some spaces we receive, as well. Like I would say given for me, as I mentioned in the beginning, going to the forum, there's spaces that you give, but there's also in that giving, and we're also receiving. And that to me also for the given forum was everything. I had received so much walking out of there that I was like overflowing with wanting to give back.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really great. I love all of this imagery, or the way in which you see how athletics relates to life. And even so, athletics relates, of course, to our personal development
Mhm.
and the deployment of our gifts, right? But it also relates to our spiritual life. The Apostle Paul
Mhm.
would agree with you because
Mhm.
he uses the imagery of running the race at
Yes.
least once, if not more than once.
Yes.
And so, um,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, that's really neat. So what do you do right
Mhm.
now? What is your work?
Yeah, so my work is supporting student athletes. So I work at Columbia University and I work with our student athlete population directly in academic support, career development, and overall well-being. So it's very much this holistic approach to student athlete support and student athlete development. And it's very much what I believe in terms of like us as human beings. Like we are not just one dimensional. So, thinking about support from this holistic concept is very important to me. And I do think to your point, about how sport can really translate into life, or we talk about painting and imagery and how that can connect. I do think that accompaniment, walking with students, walking with people, walking with whatever our ministry is or whatever our vocation is. I mean, that's how I would say that I really think it's important when we're discerning vocation, or we're discerning what our gifts are, we're discerning where to give spaces to give those gifts, that we're looking for places, not necessarily always just like fit this, like we talk about this box, but places that we feel like we can contribute. It's a space, and I really do think that my work, what I'm really thankful for, is I do get to support, and I do get to accompany, and I do get to be a part of sort of a journey with a student, and that to me is very important. But I do think that everyone really our work is discovering what is the invitation for us personally, right? So not everybody can work with student athletes. We need doctors, we need lawyers, we need teachers. So it's sort of like, okay, where is our invitation? What invitation are we receiving? And then how can we be prepared for that invitation? And then how are we able to say yes to that invitation? I didn't start in this space. I had two very different professions prior to this. So I started out as a college basketball assistant coach. I was a student athlete and I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a college coach. And at that time, that's where I was called to be, and I loved it. But then, seeds started being planted in my heart for different work, and I moved over to business, and then I worked in marketing research, and I was in that space for several years. And then again, like seed planted in my heart, felt like I was being called to something different. And I think that that's important to share, because I do think sometimes the questions that we all have is like, how do we know we're on the right path, or how do we know we're doing the right thing? And I think part of that is, first of all, really understanding that I think anyway, it starts a lot of times with self-work. It starts with this like, what is important to me? What are my skills that I have? Where am I happy? Where do I enjoy? What do I enjoy reading? What do I enjoy watching? What do enjoy talking about? And then it's also, there's part of that work. And then there's also the invitation. What invitations am I receiving? What am I what do I feel called to? What do I feel like is giving me a little spark inside that's like, oh, maybe teaching, that sounds like that's exciting, or coaching. Um, and then it's being prepared for that yes too, I think, is that other piece. It's sort of being prepared to say yes when that invitation comes. And ultimately there's the trust piece. I think there's always the question. And I've seen that with a lot of the women that even I've come in contact with through the forum, women just in general. They have multiple gifts, And it's really understanding like that, yes, you do, but where am I being invited to say yes to right now? And just also knowing that that may change. So it's important to continuously be prepared for that next yes.
Yeah,
Next.
that's really beautiful. And I think what you're showing too, and just the way you're telling the story, is that attunement not only to yourself and um, paying attention to the seeds that are planted in you, but also not discounting the things that you like,
Mhm,
not discounting the things that you're attracted to or
mhm.
drawn to, and that the Holy Spirit works through those things
Yeah,
and directs us through those things, and
I
not to
agree.
ignore it.
Not to ignore it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think because I do think that we all, I mean, yes, I mean, there's I love to sing, right? I mean, it's like my one of my favorite things to do. I can't sing, so I could never be a singer, but like I do love it and I do enjoy it and I do love music, and I particularly love Christian music. And for me, that is a beautiful way to sort of enter into that space of like just I enjoy it and I love it. But that's not necessarily my gift for for my it's something I can enjoy and something that I love, but it's not something that I can necessarily share as like a vocation. So I think that's a good maybe contrast to that there's things that we love and some may be able to sing, like some may be able to do that or some may be able to paint, but it doesn't mean that you can't integrate that also into your work,
Right.
or does it mean that you can't at some point get that invitation. And I think that's why I think I would say that it's important to be present, but it's also important to be prepared for the next invitation. So if that is something you feel like is being called or planted in your heart, a seed is being planted, I do think it's important to honor that and to like listen to that and give it the water that it needs to grow so that when the invitation does come, that you're prepared to say yes to it. It
Yeah.
wasn't something we sort of just like, hid.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Um, Maybe like me, you are praying that
Mm.
God gives you the ability to sing in heaven.
I never know why. I'll always ask that question, like why did I have this real desire and I can't? Yeah.
Yeah, well, and some things are gifts that edify
Mm,
us, you
yes.
know, uh, and help us to be more of who we're
Yeah,
called to be, but maybe aren't part of the gifts that we
yeah.
share.
Well, right. And I found that music for me actually has been a great way to articulate feelings, right? So that call for that love for music that draws me to listen to it, I actually find through lyrics, ways of expressing myself or my feelings that I wouldn't necessarily be able to articulate. So, I do think yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. I think it's important to listen to those things inside of us that because I think it could also enhance the work that we're called to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Jessica, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your heart and your experience
Mm,
with us today, and also these just really practical tips and how to grow in our gifts and to figure out what we're called to do.
mm.
You've given us a lot of gold nuggets here. We're really
Thanks, Abby. Thank
thankful.
you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here.